An Act Respecting Alien Enemies, July 6, 1798. This act, part of the Alien and Sedition Acts, passed during the presidency of John Adams, outlines the legal measures the U.S. government can take against citizens or subjects of hostile foreign nations during wartime or threats of invasion. Section 1. Presidential Authority over Alien Enemies. This law applies whenever the United States is at war with a foreign nation or is under the threat of invasion or hostile attack. If such a situation occurs, the President must issue a public proclamation declaring the event. Once declared, all male non-citizens, 14 years and older, from the hostile nation, who are not naturalized U.S. citizens, become subject to government control. The President is granted broad authority to determine how these alien enemies should be treated, apprehend, restrain, secure, or deport individuals from the hostile nation, establish rules regarding where and under what conditions they may reside within the U.S. order the removal of any alien enemy who refuses or fails to leave, create additional regulations deemed necessary for public safety. However, alien enemies who are not actively hostile or engaged in crimes against the U.S. may be granted a reasonable period to handle their affairs, sell or transfer property, remove belongings, etc., as dictated by treaties between the U.S. and their home country. If no treaty exists, the President can determine a reasonable departure timeline, taking into account both public safety and humanitarian concerns. Section 2. Judicial and Law Enforcement Powers. After the President's proclamation, courts and judges at all levels, federal and state, are empowered to enforce this law. If a complaint is made against any alien enemy, and they are deemed a danger to public peace and safety, they may be apprehended and brought before a judge or court, undergo an examination and hearing, be ordered to leave the U.S., be required to provide sureties, guarantees, of good behavior if allowed to remain, be imprisoned or restrained until their deportation or compliance with regulations is ensured. Section 3. Role of U.S. Marshals in Enforcement. United States Marshals are given primary responsibility for carrying out deportations and removal orders of alien enemies. If the President, a court, or a judge orders an alien enemy to leave the U.S., the Marshal must ensure their departure. Marshals are allowed to execute the order personally or through deputies, use other appointed individuals for assistance, receive an official warrant for the removal, issued either by the President or a court. Significance and impact. This act granted sweeping powers to the President to control, detain, or deport foreign nationals from enemy countries during wartime. The law was intended as a national security measure to prevent espionage, sabotage, or internal threats from foreign nationals within the U.S. While it was rarely used at the time, this law became an important legal precedent and was later applied during World War I and World War II, including the internment of Japanese Americans. The Alien Enemies Act, 1798, is the only part of the Alien and Sedition Acts that remains in effect today, now codified in Title 50, Chapter 3 of the U.S. Code. Conclusion. This act empowered the President and the judicial system to regulate, detain, and remove enemy aliens during times of war or invasion. While justified as a national security measure, it set a controversial precedent for government control over non-citizens, raising concerns about civil liberties and due process. Subscribe for more!